Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. If your number one retirement move in your 50s is the same as it was in your 20s, you're probably leaving money on the table. Every stage of life comes with a new financial challenge, and Fidelity just released brand new data showing exactly what Americans are getting right and where they're falling behind. According to Fidelity's 2025 State of Retirement Planning study, about 2/3 of Americans say they feel confident about retirement, but that confidence has dropped 7 points from last year. Gen X is now the least confident generation of all. And even for retirees who've made it to the finish line, it's not all smooth sailing. 7 in 10 say that expenses for day-to-day life are higher than they expected and are eating into their savings more quickly than they anticipated. And half say they underestimated what medical costs would be. So today, we're going to break it down decade by decade. In your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, the single most important thing you should do at every single stage of life, backed with data, backed with examples, so you get to retire on your own terms. In your 20s, build your foundation. Fidelity's core advice here is very clear. Save 15% of your income, and that includes any employer match. But here's what most people miss. Your 20s aren't just about saving. It's about building your earning power. The average American in their 20s sees wage growth of roughly 6% per year in the early career phase. That is fuel for every financial decision you will later make. If you make $50,000 at 25 and simply grow that by 6% a year for 10 years, you're going to be at nearly $90,000 by 35. Saving 15% of a growing paycheck and investing it means you're not just increasing the dollars you're saving, you're compounding that over time, and that is one of the best gifts you can give yourself, saving a portion of every single raise. Here's your checklist, your number one moves in your 20s. Number one, automate 15% savings. Right into a 401k or IRA and make sure to grab any employer match. Number two, invest for growth. Keep a high equity allocation so compounding has the time to do its work. Number three, pay off high interest debt. This is to free up your cash flow as much as possible. Number four, build a starter emergency fund. You don't want to have something like a flat tire lead to you raiding your 401k. And number five, increase your earning power. Take certifications, switch jobs strategically, learn how to negotiate. All of this benefits you and it compounds over time. Your 20s are all about setting systems that will run without you having to think about them. Automate your investing and really focus on building your career. Build your earning power. Once you're in your 30s, the game changes a bit. You go from building momentum to learning how to defend it. Your 30s, defend the plan. So in your 20s, your job was to get that engine running, to automate your investing, to really focus on growing your income. Once you get to your 30s, the plan shifts a little bit. You now have to learn how to defend it. This is the decade where real life shows up. You might get married, have a kid, a mortgage, maybe you even have a business. The financial risks are higher and cash flow feels tighter. It's not just about saving more, it's about protecting what you've built thus far. Fidelity's 2025 State of Retirement Planning study found that nearly 1/3 of Gen Xers and Millennials say they struggle to balance current expenses with saving for retirement, and 37% list inflation and rising costs as a major challenge. It's also the decade where lifestyle creep quietly starts to erode progress. The average 35-year-old household spends about $66,000 a year, up nearly 30% from a decade ago. But savings rates haven't kept pace. Your edge in your 30s isn't just about squeezing out a few extra dollars into your savings. It's also about building a shield so your investments are protected no matter what life throws at you. And this is really where a lot of people lose ground. One unexpected medical bill, a job loss, a bad insurance policy, and that can have you raiding your 401k or piling on the credit card debt. That's why your most powerful wealth move in your 30s is to mitigate risk before it happens. It's not just about protecting your money, it's also about protecting your momentum. These are your number one moves in your 30s. Number one, lock in your safety net. Get term life insurance. Maybe that's 20 years. Maybe you're targeting 10 times your income if someone depends on you. And don't overlook disability coverage. In your 30s, a disability is a far greater risk than death. I know this personally, and this is something I've shared here before. One morning, I woke up to find that I had a brain tumor. The day prior, I was the picture of health. I was training for a triathlon. My eating was absolutely on point. I felt completely unstoppable. The next day, everything changed, and I had to spend the better part of a year relearning how to walk, how to write, even to hold a fork. This is just the reminder that sometimes you don't get a warning. According to the Social Security Administration, 1 in 4 workers experiences a long-term disability before the age of 65. And if you work in a skilled profession, make sure you have own occupation disability insurance. That truly protects your income if you can't perform your specific job. Number 2, keep lifestyle inflation in check. Every time you get a raise, automate half of it right into investments and enjoy the other half completely guilt-free. I want you to be able to enjoy your money today. I also want to make sure that the future you has an amazing life as well. Number 3, stay diversified and tax smart. Fidelity recommends keeping your savings rate around 15%. But I think this is now the time to make sure that you're diversifying across more than one type of account. Maybe you create a mix of Roth, pre-tax, traditional brokerage, utilize an HSA if it's available to you. That way, once you get to retirement, you have a lot of flexibility with your income. Number 4, eliminate toxic debt. Aim to have any high-interest debt or student loans paid off by your mid-30s. Every dollar you can avoid paying in interest is another dollar you can put to work, compounding for your future. And number 5, build your Plan B fund. Work on having at least 6 months worth of expenses set aside so an emergency doesn't force you to stop investing, or worse, pull from retirement accounts. You could even think of this as your freedom fund. Maybe it's the freedom to take a sabbatical, or try a new career, or simply invest in yourself. Let's say you're 33, earning $85,000 a year, contributing 10% to your 401k. If you bump that up to 15%, that's just under $13,000 a year, add in your employer match, and by 40, you could easily cross the 6-figure mark in retirement savings. But here's the catch. It only works if you're actively contributing. That's why it's so important to have an emergency fund or the proper insurances. It helps to prevent you from hitting the pause button on your financial life when life gets a little bit messy. I really see an emergency fund as your first line of defense, because without it, your future is the first thing at risk. So in your 20s, you got to work building the engine. By the time you were in your 30s, you nailed down a system, you put in safeguards, and you're really protecting compounding so that it can completely run uninterrupted. Once you hit your 40s, it's time to pop the hood and see how that engine is really running, because this is when the numbers start to tell the truth. In your 40s, it's about mid-course correction. Once you hit your 40s, you've been in the game long enough to see what's working and what's not. And this is also the time where autopilot might fail you. Between kids and aging parents and college costs and the first whispers of retirement all colliding at once, your plan has to be rock solid. Fidelity's 2025 State of Retirement Planning shows that 45% of Gen X says their biggest concern is simply saving enough overall, and 37% cite inflation and rising costs as a major obstacle. They're also the least confident generation about retiring on their own terms. Only 53% feel they'll be able to do it. This lack of confidence tells you something. Your 40s is a time to stop guessing and start measuring. It's time for a full retirement readiness check. Pull together every account you have, all your 401ks, any IRAs, and see where you stand exactly. Fidelity's benchmark suggests that by age 45, you should have about 4 times your annual salary saved to be on track to reach 10x by retirement. I like to treat these targets as aspirational, not absolute. And T. Rowe Price and Chase have their own set of benchmarks. And I did a video where I compare all three next to each other, and I will link it above and down below if you're interested in checking it out. But the whole goal here is to see where you stand and where you stand relative to where you want to be. Also, this is a really important time to figure out what Social Security might be for you. So create an account with myssa.gov and see what your estimated benefits are based on your work history. This decade isn't just about saving, it's also about strategy. You now have meaningful balances, which means taxes, asset allocation, and investment location matter more than ever. And a few percentage points of efficiency here can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars later. Your number one moves in your 40s are to 1. Audit your portfolio. Make sure your stock and bond mix matches your risk tolerance and your time horizon. If you have areas of your portfolio that have grown too large or too small, now is the time to get them back in alignment. And remember, it's about course corrections and not about perfection. Number 2 is to consolidate accounts. Old 401ks and stray IRAs just create clutter and confusion. Now is the time to consolidate accounts, bring them all under one brokerage house or one roof. The simpler you create your plan, the easier it is to see the full picture. I love being a financial minimalist. Number 3, tune your tax strategy. Again, we want to make sure we're utilizing all types of accounts, whether that's pre-tax, Roth, or just a plain old taxable brokerage. You want to diversify across all 3 types because that gives you the ultimate flexibility. It gives you the best control over your taxes now and throughout retirement. Number 4, model your retirement income. You really want to start projecting what your future cash flow streams will look like. Pull your numbers from myssa.gov. Get your estimate on what your Social Security benefits will be. Then layer in your investments, any pension or guaranteed income streams that you might have. Try to really figure out what your budget is going to look like in retirement. This takes your goal from abstract numbers to a real monthly plan. Number 5, set college boundaries. You have to prioritize retirement savings first. You can borrow for college, but you can't borrow for retirement. If you can help your kids with college, that is absolutely amazing and it's a blessing. But no one's going to come bail you out for retirement. So kind of think of it as that own oxygen mask rule. Put your own oxygen mask on first, then help others. Number 6, plan for longevity. If you're married, start mapping out survivor benefits, map out what the widow's penalty looks like if one of you passes, map out what income looks like if one passes. You want to make sure you have a plan in place and make sure you map out healthcare costs too. Let's say you're 45, earning $120,000 a year, and you've saved $350,000. You're just shy of Fidelity's 4x benchmark. Increasing your savings rate from 12% to 18% could close that gap within about 5 years, assuming modest market returns. But saving more isn't your only lever. Maybe you plan on doing a phased retirement, so you have less pressure on your portfolio in the beginning. Or maybe you plan on delaying retirement by a year or 2. Or maybe you plan on going into retirement completely debt-free with a paid-off home. This dramatically reduces your expenses. You have multiple things you can do to strengthen your plan, and your 40s is the perfect time to test them. Your 40s is where you turn wishful thinking into data-driven clarity. You're no longer guessing if you'll have enough. You're creating a solid plan that's going to get you there. Next up is your 50s, where you turn strategy into action and you work to protect against the biggest risk of all, sequence of returns. Your 50s are the decade where your financial story starts to shift from growth to preservation. You've spent decades saving and investing, and now the plan shifts to protecting it from the biggest financial risk you'll ever face, which is retiring right before or during a market downturn. Fidelity's 2025 State of Retirement Planning Study found that retirees who were 5 to 10 years away from retirement overwhelmingly wish they'd done 3 things earlier. 63% said they'd wish they paid off remaining debts. 39% wish they'd planned better for healthcare, and 36% wish they'd done more preparation for inflation. Those lessons are your 50s playbook, because what those retirees regret, you still have time to fix. It's also the decade where the IRS gives you one last turbo boost with catch-up contributions. In 2025, you can add an extra $7,500 to your 401k and an extra $1,000 to your IRA on top of the regular limits. That may not sound like much, but over 10 years, that's an extra $100,000 of contributions, even excluding employer match, and left compounding, that can be exponentially more. But contribution limits are just one piece. The real power move in your 50s is building your retirement income plan before you retire. You're moving from saving in the dark to spending with intention. So these are your number one moves in your 50s. Number one, map out your income timeline. Plan exactly how you'll bridge the gap from your last paycheck at work to your first Social Security check and any gap that exists in between. Knowing exactly where this income is coming from can give you a great strategy and great peace of mind. Number two, use a Roth conversion window. Your 50s or early 60s can be a great window for this. RMDs haven't kicked in, or maybe you're not yet on Medicare, so you don't have to worry about IRMAA surcharges. And if you have some lower income years because you stepped away from the workforce earlier, this could be an ideal time to do a Roth conversion and stay in lower tax brackets. Number three, pay off major debts. Pay off any credit card debt, prioritize paying off your mortgage and your auto loan. I know I've said this before, but I'm a big fan of going into retirement completely debt-free. It dramatically lowers your fixed costs, and it ensures that every dollar coming into your household is yours to spend. And I think it gives you a great sense of freedom and security, knowing that you don't have these debts hanging over your head. Number four, run a healthcare forecast. Estimate premiums, out-of-pocket costs, and potential long-term care expenses. Remember, healthcare is one of the biggest budget shocks for retirees, and it's almost always higher than expected. And number five, create a sequence of returns buffer. Keep 1 to 2 years worth of expenses in cash, a high-yield savings, or maybe a money market fund. That way you have access to it and you don't have to sell your investments if you experience a downturn. You don't have to lock in the loss. And this really acts as your safety net. Let's say you have $1 million saved and plan to withdraw 4% annually. That's $40,000 a year. If the market drops 20% right when you retire, that's a $200,000 loss. But a cash buffer gives you options. Instead of selling investments at a loss, you can pull from cash and let your portfolio recover. Your portfolio is really the most vulnerable in the first handful of years of retirement. And if you experience a major downturn, having a cash bucket that you could otherwise turn to and not having to draw from your portfolio during this time dramatically increase the odds that your portfolio will last an entire lifetime and will be strong in doing so. And remember, safe withdrawal rates were designed for exactly this scenario. So if you need to draw from your portfolio during a downturn, so long as you're using a safe rate of withdrawal, you'll be just fine. Remind yourself that this is exactly what this plan was built for. So your 50s is really about testing your plan and making it real and identifying any cracks so you can fix them before you have to put it into action. Your 60s is where you finally decide to turn this plan into a paycheck and make this money last for decades. So your 60s, turning your plan into a paycheck. All the puzzle pieces start to come together and you stop asking, do I have enough? And you start asking, how do I make it last? Fidelity's 2025 State of Retirement Planning Report found that retirees who say their retirement is going as planned have two things in common. They saved consistently and they built predictable income. About 77% rely on Social Security, 48% on pensions, and 41% on personal savings. Yet even with all that, 7 in 10 retirees say the rising cost of living is eating into their nest eggs. More than half say that healthcare costs are higher than expected. So even in your 60s, inflation and longevity remain big budget concerns. Fidelity's rule of thumb is to have about 10 times your annual salary saved by the time you retire. And again, while I do think this is a useful benchmark, think of it as aspirational, not absolute. And also one key reminder that we should focus on, it really should be more about replacing your spending rather than replacing your income. If you earn $100,000 a year, but only spend $60,000, you don't need to replace your full income in retirement. Your goal is to fully sustain the lifestyle you want to live, and that likely isn't your entire paycheck. From here, you want to pick a target withdrawal. Maybe that's 3, 4, 5, or 6% per year. The real key here is not about just hitting a number. It's about structuring your income streams so you're protected for life. This is where you officially transition from accumulation to decumulation, and it does require a new mindset. You're no longer thinking about contributing to your accounts, you're thinking about pulling from them to support your life. And these are your number one moves in your 60s. Number one, lock in guaranteed income. Try to get as many of your essential expenses like housing, transportation, food, whatever it is, covered by your essentials. Whether that is Social Security, maybe you have a pension, maybe you consider an annuity if you're risk averse. The more guaranteed income streams you have, the higher your income floor, the better protected you are against volatility. And more than just guaranteed income streams, it's about knowing your gap between your guaranteed income streams and what your expenses are, and how you're going to fill that gap, likely from your investments. So the more you know, the better prepared you can be. Number two, coordinate your claiming strategy. Delaying Social Security to age 70 increases your benefit by roughly 8% per year after full retirement age. If you're married, plan together. The surviving spouse can step into the higher benefit of the two, so timing matters. Number three, manage taxes on withdrawals. Pull from taxable accounts first, then traditional, then Roth. This can help to reduce your lifetime taxes and help reduce the amount of Social Security that is subject to tax and help to reduce IRMAA surcharges. Number four, plan for healthcare and IRMAA. Don't let Medicare premiums or income-related surcharges surprise you. Review your modified adjusted gross income before filing each year so you don't accidentally cross a threshold that raises your costs. Number five, set up a withdrawal guardrail. Instead of withdrawing a fixed amount, like 4% per year, maybe use a guardrail strategy where you withdraw a little bit more if the market's doing well and a little bit less if the market is performing poorly. This introduces flexibility to your plan, but when followed appropriately, can add a decade or more to safe withdrawals from your portfolio. Say you retire with $1 million and plan to withdraw $45,000 per year. By using a flexible guardrail approach, adjusting your spending when the markets dip, you could stretch your portfolio's life from 30 years to nearly 40. That is the power of dynamic withdrawals and adapting in real time rather than locking yourself into one rigid rule. Your 60s are where your money becomes a tool for security, not stress. You've built the foundation, you've weathered the volatility, you've learned from every decade that's come before. Now is your time to enjoy your plan and live confidently. You don't need the perfect plan, you need an adaptable one. You don't have to focus on doing everything right all at once. You need to focus on doing the next right thing based on the life phase you're in. Your 20s are about building, your 30s are about protecting, your 40s are about measuring, your 50s are about preparing, and your 60s are about living it out. Your retirement isn't one big decision at the age of 65. It's thousands of small choices along the way. It's the raise you negotiate, it's when you change jobs, it's the budget you keep, it's contributing to your investments, it's allowing them to compound, it's protecting your family and your plan. And the real lesson here is every decade gives you a different lever to pull. Fidelity's research shows that nearly 70% of retirees say they're enjoying retirement more than they expected. Proof that it's possible to get this right. But the retirees who are the happiest of all say they did two things. They started early and they kept adjusting along the way. So what are your thoughts on retirement prep? What decade are you in? Post it in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. I don't know what that noise is. I think it's a garbage truck. I'm gonna let it go by. I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. I think my tongue is blue. I had a Sour Patch Kid. And yes, singular, I had a Sour Patch Kid because I can't eat much sugar. It causes seizures. But I had chicken first to buffer it, so I think we're okay. There was something else I wanted to say. I don't know what it is. So we're gonna take a little sip, bring it to the lip. I cannot tell you how many noises there are and how many construction vehicles. I think I moved, what is that brand, Caterpillar? I think they're setting up shop on my road today. Again, you wanna make sure you're utilizing all types of accounts, whether that's pre-tax, Roth, as well as a traditional tax. Every time you get a raise, automate half of that raise right into investments. I want you, no,